Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the HAPA TV, the Insights channel for hospitality, tourism, and F&B. My name is Jennifer Ong, and I am the host for HAPA TV. Today, we have three very special guests with us, whereby we will be talking about how are these fine dining brands taking their business to the new norm. And today we have three guests with us. One is Chef Darren Teoh from Dewakan KL. And we have Kartik Kumar from Nadodi KL. And of course, Chef James Wan from Enfin KL. And it's very interesting to actually have all three guests coming on this platform to literally share with us what has been going on behind the scene during the MCO. What were they doing? And did they do deliveries? Did they, how did they pivot their business? And also, what is in the fine dining future, if at all there is the future? That's been a lot of questions. So what I like to do is I like to just start off with perhaps Kartik. Kartik, since you are unmuted, why don't we start with Kartik? Hi, Kartik.
Hello, hi, Jen.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you so much for making time and coming on our show. So, how have you been?
Oh, well, doing well. Slowly, things are working out for us. Things are getting quite aligned right now in KL, and we're extremely happy and excited to see things are getting back to normal, even though it's a new normal. But things are getting better right now.
Right, that's good. That's good. All right, so before we start chit-chatting with Kartik, maybe I'd just like to introduce a little bit about Nadodi KL, yeah, for the benefit of our audience. Now, let's talk about Nadodi. Now, Nadodi is a word that translates to nomad in a couple of South Indian languages. And Nadodi is a story of how food itself travels, how generations of migrants and travelers bring their culture and cuisine to alien lands, contributing to the melting pots of the nations they become part of. And it's the story of founders of Nadodi themselves, South Indian nomads who, as children, were away from their ancestral lands and who, as adults, found their travels eventually landing them in Kuala Lumpur. Now, Nadodi uses modern gastronomic techniques to elevate the traditional rustic fare of India's south. It's nestled in the heart of Kuala Lumpur. Those of you who are aware of where Nadodi is, it's just very near to the Petronas Twin Towers. And this particular fine dining restaurant represents the cuisines of three different regions, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, and northern Sri Lanka, with a delicate modern-day sensibility. So, Kartik, you've had a formal culinary education, right, before working at several luxury hotels in India. And as I remember very much our first conversation when I met you, you said that you always wanted to work for luxury hotels. And just by the size of them and the pride that it instills in you, right? So can you share with us your journey in this entire luxury hotel, hospitality, and F&B journey in your life? Just a very quick summary, just share with us. How is it like?
Well, with my current experience working with standalone and individual restaurants from past almost 6-7 years with standalone restaurants. I started working in a standalone and individual restaurants from Bangkok itself, and then moving from Bangkok to Malaysia was absolutely a different demographic when it comes to standalone and individual operating restaurant. Like Bangkok is filled up with complete fine dining scene. And when I stepped into Kuala Lumpur, the market was not that big. But there were a very handpicked restaurant, like example. When I arrived, I just knew a couple of restaurants like Dewakan in KDU, DC in Tamantun, and of course, the legendary Cilantro was also a great restaurant. So these are the handpicked 3-4 restaurants were there when we arrived in 2016. So as I said, the whole idea of starting a nomadic travel cuisine was just to get inspiration from the demographics, what we are surrounded in the particular zone. So, when we started eating food outside, we started understanding the cuisine and the flavors has a lot of interconnect to each other when it comes to the dishes what happens in Kuala Lumpur itself. That's mostly the street food and the shops, the mamak shops and everything.
Right.
So yes, I mean the dishes which we aided during the R&D time, the research and development time of opening Nadodi, that is the strongest reason behind opening this restaurant. Of course, we wanted to create a high-end, fine dining, South Indian, Sri Lankan, Ceylonese cuisine, but the whole structure changed to a nomadic path. So that's about it.
That's all. Thank you so much. Okay, maybe now we move to James. So James, you need to unmute yourself so Kartik can mute. Okay, so Chef James is the Chef-Patron of Enfin by James Wan. And Enfin is an international multi-award contemporary French restaurant in Kuala Lumpur, focusing on the preservation of Asian ingredients. Enfin is also inspired by its culture, identity, and heritage, which is fused with the confluence of many ethnic groups. So, James, thank you so much for coming here on our show this afternoon. Welcome. And now, hi, James. Hi. Now, James, you're the Chef-Patron of Enfin, right, by James Wan, which is also home to Asia's only crochet chef's table. Now, you've won many awards and you were trained in some of the best France and Japan's finest Michelin 3-star institutions. Can you share with us, how did you get onto such an amazing culinary career?
It started many years ago. It's all from the love of food and passion for food. I didn't do culinary to begin with. I actually went to university, did something else, and then I decided that what makes me happiest was actually seeing the expression of people when they taste the food that I put in front of them. So that was very addictive, and ever since I saw that that kind of satisfaction, I wanted to pursue it because I couldn't think of anything else that gave me such joy.
Right. And
so that's how I started my journey.
Was that an influence by your grandmother to get into the food?
Very much so.
Yeah,
very much so. I come from a family of food lovers, gourmands. We have chefs in the in our bloodline, renowned ones as well. So I grew up with being very spoiled by my grandmother because she brought me up. So every day after school, I'm looking forward to going home to find out exactly what she will be giving me for afternoon tea.
Right.
So, and it's always been somewhat a curiosity in me until now. It still doesn't go away. I'm still always curious about anything that I can taste.
Right. So yeah, so yours is really very much love for food that has driven you to doing what you do best right now, right? Okay.
Yes,
so
I think
isn't it?
Love something and to be passionate about it is the best thing on earth. So it doesn't matter what time or how much pain we have to go through right now, you will still wake up every morning and be happy about it.
Yeah, that's true passion. That's really, I really feel what you're saying. Okay, so now let's move to Darren. Hi, Darren.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you so much again for making time to come on our show. And just before we catch up with Darren, let's just hear a little bit about Dewakan. So Chef Darren Teoh is from Dewakan, KL, and Dewakan is actually a combination of Malay words called Dewa, which represents God, and Makan, which is food. And Dewakan's dining experience is designed to create meaningful connections with people and culture that is represented in every ingredient. And it also respects the people behind them, which means the local growers, the fishermen, the artisans, and bringing to life a culinary adventure that is uniquely Dewakan. Dewakan shot to international fame when it was included as one of the as the only Malaysian restaurant to enter the prestigious Asia's 50 Best Restaurants 2019 list. So, Darren, you've stayed in some renowned restaurants such as Noma in Denmark and also a 3-star Michelin star Amador in Austria for about 2 weeks, right? You're a chef turned lecturer. Can you share with us how you got yourself into the culinary world and served in such great restaurants in the world even for 2 weeks?
Amador at the time was in Langen, Frankfurt, so not the one in Austria.
I see. Okay.
They closed that. Well, I mean, you're not wrong. They closed it and then they moved to Austria. I got into cooking simply because I was bad at school.
Okay.
And
he's one of the most modest guys I've met.
I was just bad at school, and I think my father had the foresight to recommend fields that I would probably find some sort of appreciation for. If it was not for cooking, it would probably be something like fine arts or maybe even fashion design. But the education fair was not very convincing until the cooking part, so I signed up for that.
Right. And you've not looked back since, right? And you're loving it, aren't you?
I think it's really hard to say. I mean, my career spans now just about 20 years, and I would not be honest if I told you I enjoyed every bit of it. There are times where I completely I was ready to leave, but the honest truth is I don't know what else to do, or I don't think I can do anything else. So
right.
Yeah.
Right. So can I, coming from a chef's perspective, right? I mean, since you're online here now, I'm going to ask you this next question. Is one of the questions I'm going to ask you is, what exactly is fine dining? How do you define fine dining? And being in that niche and that level, what is it that really will take you and, to push you, like you were saying, many times you were just, to a point where you just want to get out, walk out, right? What is it that actually pulls you back, apart from not knowing what else to do? But what exactly in the fine dining scene that actually pulls you back or keeps you there?
Fear, I think. A lot of it's fear because I don't speak for anyone else, but for myself, I think it's because I probably could not imagine myself doing anything else. Cooking is very it's something that I'm very comfortable with, and I know how to do it, and I know how to do it well. So I think I fear that if I decide to become like if I try to become something else tomorrow, I probably would find myself out of depth. And I think that the biggest fear is to be out of depth, and I like being, I'm a control freak. I like being in control. I like, even though I know it's an illusion, it's something that I feel like, if I feel good about the circumstances that I have around me, then I feel better. So if you made me into, I don't know, if you made me into a bartender, or okay, I think I can do bar, but maybe if you made me into like an engineer or something like this, I think I fear I might crack.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Right. That's cool. What about you, James? What about you? What have you had time where you really want to throw in a towel, and if you had that moment of saying, no, I'm going to go back, what exactly is pulling you back or stopping you from leaving the fine dining scene?
I think just like what Darren said, many times you would want to throw it in because it's a tough job. It's not something that we do 9 to 5 and clock in, clock out, and then the weekend you can just go with your family and do your thing and then come back on Monday again. So, but end of the day, for me, like I said, is that satisfaction of when you look at the diner and they really had a moment with you, that moment that they go, you meet a complete stranger. I've been asked about this so many times. I meet a complete stranger. I don't know them from Adams. They come in, they have this big expectation to have a great experience. And when they have that experience, they run up to you and say, "Thank you so much. That was just so amazing. I never expected that." And that kind of sincerity is very hard for me to discover in something else. I, I I'm still stuck where Darren said that he was going to be a fashion designer, so I can't wait to see his clothes. I'll wear it, Darren. I'll wear it.
Yeah, Darren,
But
you started our
um, but the thing is that satisfaction. But now as I mature and age a bit more, I get a lot of satisfaction seeing my team growing and developing. Because my team has been with me since I've been back in Malaysia right now, and I've seen them grow. I've seen them do things that they never thought they could do. So that has been a great gratification for me. I'm not a very hungry, money-minded person right now. I can't say I wasn't before, but that's what drives us anyway. But the fact that knowing that I could have at least leave something behind for my team, for them to grow into, to move on, that's what I look forward to right now. But if you're talking about trials and tribulation, I think all three of us will probably can spend the next 10 hours talking about it and it will never stop. Because it is not an easy job. Those guys are thinking about opening a fine dine or whatever restaurant. It's not just a fine dine. You think it's going to be a good clock in, clock out, count the money end of the night. I'm sorry, wrong dream. Better find a new job. Yeah.
We're gonna touch on that topic later. Okay, we're gonna ask three of you later to give sound advice to those guys out there who's thinking of either continuing with the F&B business or starting a new F&B business. We really want to hear the real truth coming from you guys.
I think
Okay,
I just want to add on a few.
What about you?
Yeah, when we're talking about what is fine dining, from a brand perspective way, thinking perception, not as a chef but as a brand perspective way, being on the other side of the restaurant. For me, fine dining is not laying down a white tablecloth or having exclusive wine glasswares or just having a good champagne glasswares or anything on the table will define you as a fine dining. What's going to define your restaurant as a fine dining is the unusual experience, what you're trying to bring it on the table. That's what makes it a difference. Doesn't matter, like example, Darren, his restaurant is an amazing view. It has a beautiful locations. Everything is great. And then you have a table. He's the first. He's the person who's doing a table without a tablecloth. But still, the unusual experience was trying to bring it on the table with his idea and with his creativity, with his strategy of doing a fine dining, is absolutely create an atmosphere itself that okay, this is what people should define as a fine dining. The unusual experience where people look forward to go and eat in a restaurant and get that unusual experience. For me, that is fine dining. It may be a restaurant with a humble chicken rice. It may be a restaurant with a biryani shop, but doing a style what they want to do it. It's called be a fine dining. So fine dining could not be, you have a lavish white tablecloth, a big champagne glasswares, or have a collection of beautiful wines, or something. So for me, that is what the definition of fine dining, which I personally feel it. When we do things in Nadodi, we always try to create some or other unusual experiences. So at least people go back and say, oh, fine. I mean, this, I can't do it at home.
Right.
That's the whole idea of fine dining. I mean, what you can't repeat back at home is a whole idea of doing a fine dining restaurant. That's what I feel it.
Right. So it's more a whole experience thing, that defines. So how would you say then it's the dining experience that defines fine dining?
Yeah, but whole experience, of course, but whole experience doesn't define that having a white tablecloth and a big wine glass.
Yeah. Right.
Define it. What's going to define is the unusual experience, the touch points on the table, Like example, when I went to Dewakan, the new opening of Dewakan, I don't see a tablecloth or a huge glasswares or a big wine cellars or 150 labels of wine. That's not the SOP to have a fine dining restaurant.
Right.
Fine dining can be anything else, and
Right.
fine dining is all about unusual experiences.
What about Darren? Darren, how do you define what Kartik say? How do you define fine dining?
I'm gonna kind of agree with Kartik here. I don't think our restaurant is a fine dining restaurant.
Okay.
I think in the past 15, 20 years or so, the restaurant has changed, but the terminology, the restaurant scene has changed, but the terminology has not. I mean, when people talk about fine dining restaurants, you're talking about 1970s, Paul Bocuse, Chappelle. You're talking about the 80s and the 90s with Tuacro, with Robuchon, with Ducasse, and you're talking about Regime Macon. You're talking about places where you go and you have like tablecloth that's starched, maitre d', a sommelier, a commis sommelier, and the average staff to guest ratio is probably like 5 or 6 to 1, and I think a lot of that has changed. And even in Europe, I mean, just to hire one person just the cost of hiring one person versus the cost that you pay for a meal cannot justify you having like a ratio of like 6 to 1, unless they are stagiaires or they work for free or something like this. So I think that term fine dining if you necessarily must use it, it can apply to so many things. Some people go are used to a certain caliber restaurant, and then when they go to something which is maybe offers a little bit more services for them, that's also a fine dining experience, right? So I think that restaurants that exist today provide, like what Kartik says, experiences, and the experiences are the ones that count, because at the end of the day, what our job is, besides the reason why we serve food and give service, is because we want to create memories, and we want people to remember the time that they enjoyed a particular moment, whether it's your first date or whether it's a wedding anniversary, a birthday, or maybe it's just that you got a raise and you wanted to treat yourself, and you choose one of these restaurants. It doesn't matter what restaurant, it's an experience. So I think the term fine dining, personally for me, I think is a little bit dated and could probably do with like a little bit of refreshment.
What would you then call Dewakan if you say, okay, Dewakan's not, you don't want to term Dewakan as a fine dining restaurant, then what will you term it as?
Well, we're just a restaurant. I mean, we started off using the word fine dining when we first started because we couldn't find a way to describe it to the market. So we used the word fine dining, but I think for a long time we've stopped using it, and people refer us as it, but we stopped referring to ourselves as it. We call ourselves a restaurant that's focused on indigenous produce, and we try to serve an interesting enough.
Right.
Along the way,
sorry, that exactly what Darren is trying to say is absolutely. I completely sync with the point. I mean, the degustation menu, the tasting menu is not going to define as a fine dining. Ultimately, the unusual experience for me personally is a benchmark. If you go to India, I'm just trying to give an example because I come from that hospitality background of ITC hotels. I was a management trainee with ITC hotels, and I had an opportunity to work with such brands like Bukhara, Dampur, and all these big brands within the ITC hotels. So perhaps Bukhara is one of the oldest restaurant which has always been listed in 50 best restaurant. For me, the benchmark is Bukhara. That restaurant is a 35 years old brand. And can you believe the 30 dishes hasn't changed till now? You don't have to be define yourself that okay, we are a fine dining, because people started making perception. Oh, fine dining means this will be there, that'll be there, degustation, tasting. No, it's not. That restaurant creates an unusual experience where you go sit down and you don't have a cutlery on the table. Now you tell me, is it fine dining? So you don't have to. So when you sit down in that restaurant, Bukhara, which is a 35 years old branded restaurant and still surviving and doing, wonders and making into the 50 best list, still at this period of time, in 2020 also they made it into the list. So, right. so when you go to that restaurant, there is no cutlery.
Okay.
There is no cutlery on the table, and from 35 years they have been feeding people without a cutlery. Yeah. You need to clean you just need to clean your hand. Maybe after COVID things may change for them. I'm not sure about it, how they're going to execute the whole plan. But,
yeah.
Sorry?
What, James? Sorry, Darren?
I said wipe your hands on the tablecloth.
Just do that. Just do that.
When they don't have it, a tablecloth.
Let's hear from James.
They don't even have a tablecloth. They don't even have a cutlery.
Okay.
The 30 dishes. They have just 30 dishes in the menu. And the restaurant is rocking since 35 years in ITC Moria. From President Barack Obama to George Bush to everybody has dined in that restaurant and still doing 400 numbers of covers every day.
Okay.
So if you are doing fine dining means you need to do 30 covers or just 40 covers.
Wow.
I don't think so.
Of course.
They do 400 covers. Lunch and dinner is packed.
Yeah.
7 days in a waiting.
Okay, Kartik, let me just hear from James. I want to hear, what about James? How do you define fine dining, James? And what about you? What's your take on this fine dining? You've heard these two guys talk about.
I think it's very interesting. Yes, I'm very how should I say, quietly listening, because I think the training and background is a bit different for all of us. I happen to come from the starch tablecloth and big rituals and long lists of staffers and so forth. I think what we're all talking about is just the reference of the service and how they want to create that moment for the diner. Dining in the past has been quite intimidating with all the rituals and so forth. At the end of the day, for me, when I go to a restaurant, I don't care whether it is how expensive or how affordable it can be, or what is the location. I think at the end of the day is what is it they're trying to give to you and how they want to story their imagination onto the plate. Yes, the summation of those little details are very important, because that's what sets you apart from another restaurant. All three of us sitting here are doing three very different things. I don't think they are all equally the same. Otherwise, we will be all calling ourselves Dewakan or Nadodi or Enfin, because we'll be all becoming McDonald's, because it's exactly the same. Fine, I think, is a reference to how we execute. Fine is in the artistry behind what we want to show and demonstrate, in the selection process of our ingredients, in that little details that we put in through. I don't necessarily think it's the glassware or the tablecloth, as what Kartik said, because I think there's a lot of finesse in what both of them do and in myself, but our plates are different. We may want to choose different type of tableware because we are presenting it in a very different manner, because the story is different. So, but there are, of course, restaurants that take it to another level, where they bombard you and they basically engulf you with ultra luxury. So I think the shift has happened, and I think for Malaysia, in all, because we live in this country, dining is still a very new culture to us, because it's so new. People are still trying to put their foot into different kind of experiences. So I think everyone has their way of wanting to relate to the customer. Just like what Darren said, it's difficult when you first open, because if you try to tell people what Dewakan is when they first open. I remember meeting Darren, having this chat before he opened. Do you remember that, Darren? At Bad Boys? And he was telling me, I'm going to do Malaysian ingredients. I was looking at him, man, you are brave. I don't dare to do it, because at that point in time, I just cannot imagine how Malaysia will embrace it. And then I'm also very happy to say, when Darren got his 47th placement in Macau, I was there with him. I was the mad idiot in the back screaming and yelling, yes, Malaysia made it. You know, it's 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 a different kind of story. It's a different kind of relativity, I think, because right now we're so new into the game, still so young in terms of the dining scene. There's just a reference point. That reference point is shifting. Maybe as what both Kartik and Darren said, just a restaurant, but we have a different expression. Like you may want to wear Dior today, and tomorrow you may want to wear Darren Teoh when he comes up with his fashion line. You know,
Yeah.
so it's again, what do you want to talk about? What do you want to express? That's what it is, and it's not anything else other than that. So that my definition is again, like I said, it is what you want to talk about. That is the most important thing. Going to a most beautiful restaurant, beautifully decked out, but the food has nothing to talk about. Is this as good as going to the hawker store and getting your prawn mee? Because it's going to be exactly the same, or going to McDonald's because it's exactly the same no matter where you go.
Right. But so do you think there is growth for the fine dining scene in Malaysia, given this new norm?
100%. Whenever there is a crisis or whether there's a change, I mean, I have a different outlook.
Right.
I think if you ask me 8 years ago, will I ever imagine opening in Malaysia? I'll tell you, nah. It took a lot of convincing for me to open. I wasn't quite sure because back then, there were not many culinary schools to begin with. So finding staffers was incredibly difficult. And what was taught was not very relevant to the way I want to cook.
Right.
So again, all this was not available, but now you have many culinary schools. So there are more resources available. And with the new norm, one for a better word, norm, people want new way of eating. People just want new rules of engagement. But food is still food. If your story is strong enough, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't change. It's just maybe a slight tweak in your rituals of how the food is sent or how the packaging needs to be. That's it. But delicious food is always going to be delicious food. So be it whether it's fine dine or whatever, I think it's not going to change. We're not talking about whether is it fashion, whether we need to wear a mask or not wear a mask right now, you know. So it's still relevant. Opportunities is still everywhere. This is whether we want to access or not access.
You're very optimistic then about the F&B scene, the dining scene, the fine dining scene then.
I'm not saying I'm optimistic. I'm just saying that I just need to cope with it. If I want to be down and black about it, I might just well close shop, and then maybe I have to. I don't know whether I'll be a good fashion designer. That's the only problem, because Darren still has a hidden skill and I don't. So, I'm a little bit trapped.
Darren, what about you, Darren? What do you think of the fine dining scene in Malaysia? Is there growth? Can it sustain, for example? What do you think?
Yeah, so I mean, bearing back to probably what everyone's been talking about, I find, for me personally, I find it hard to define and draw the line between fine dining restaurants. The formats that traditionally restaurants that subscribe to this sort of measure has, it's incorporated itself into so many other ways. There are smaller restaurants up out in Taman Tun, like Amber KL, that offer tasting menus for relatively decent price and good cooking, tasty places like Akar in Taman Tun as well. There were places like Copper, which used to, they don't have like the traditional settings that people associate with a fine dining restaurant, but the food was excellent. I think that and then there are so many different types of restaurants. You get Japanese who also take it to a different level, and then you have a place like Nadodi, you know, it takes it to a different direction. So how do you say what's what, right? I think that at some point people are going to want to come out and eat again. What they want to eat, I'm not so sure. I can't tell you that if there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I can't because we don't know what's going to happen. Come 31st of August, right before that, you know, the government's probably going to say, okay, look, we can't open the borders anymore. And then that will be detrimental to businesses like mine and the other gentleman here. And so, I mean, like, you know, I can't say if it's going to be good or if it's going to be bad. I can say that people will want to eat and they will continue to want to eat. And restaurants are going to find themselves in a place where they're going to have to repurpose themselves or find what their purpose was in the first place. I mean, Noma in the interim was selling burgers and natural wine. You know, you have people like Julian, who was in Odette, who was also, you know, had these beautiful food boxes that they were putting together. So I think nothing is impossible, but there are limitations to what we can do.
Right. Right. All right. Thanks. Before that, Darren, so you don't really see a huge potential. Do you see? Would you say you see a huge potential? Is there still potential in fine dining or upper class dining growing in our country?
Potential is what you make of it. You know, I mean, if you're looking for a hard yes or a hard no, what my answer is, I can't tell you. I don't know. But we endeavor to do what we do. So if, I mean, a restaurant like ours, we've always excluded ourselves from the generic application of what a restaurant is. You know, we hardly ever do what other restaurants do, and we have been belittled for it, and we've also been praised for it. So in that sense, it doesn't really apply to us. We just keep on doing what we can do until we cannot do it anymore, and we cannot do it anymore, then we go and sell Ramly Burger or something like that. Whatever makes sense for us, and I think it's here as well. I mean, you know, we're overplaying this idea of whether the fine dining restaurant will work or it won't work. The question is really, who cares? That's what I think. Who cares? If it works or it doesn't work, you know. If we, at the end of the day, James and Kartik and myself and everybody else, Jeff, Darren, whoever, Takashi, Masashi, we're all just going to try and make it work for ourselves. You know, and at the end of the day, if it exists or it doesn't exist, then, you know, so what?
That's good.
I think at the end of the day, we all still need to pay rent. We still have mouths to feed. We are not gods. We still need to find the money somehow. So as Darren said, if it's Burger Ramly, it's going to be, the big difference is I think we'll probably make a little better quality than Burger Ramly patties. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but I would like to think I can get better ingredients. That's it.
I don't know, man. I kind of like the way it is.
I'm sorry, but I'm a McD kind of person, so.
Okay. Okay. Kartik, what about you? What do you see the future of the fine dining scene here in Malaysia, Kartik?
I think, well, I mean, when I arrived, as I said before itself, that, you know, I didn't look any hope of, you know, getting into the fine dining scene in Kuala Lumpur, because it was a hand-picked restaurant in 2016, and it's not that far when we arrived in 2016. So it was just a hand-picked, like max 4 restaurant or 5 restaurant. Because I was doing a comp survey, so I remember, you know, the only restaurant we tried during the comp survey was Dewakan in KDU, and after that, I never went to any other restaurant to dine. Also, I mean, on that 6 months of time, I told Darren as well that I mean, me, my chef Sri, Sangeet, and Akshar, and of course Johnson, who we all went to try Devakan because we heard great things about. And this is one of the restaurant who's trying to change the landscape and fine dining aspect or the degustation menu aspect of Kuala Lumpur. Perhaps it's Malaysia also. So we it was very handpicked restaurants, but in this 3.5 years of time, slowly spending and engaging myself to all the new consumers who come and dine and experience restaurants like Dewakan, Nadodi, DC, Enfin, and Babe, and all those restaurants. I feel the market is evolving for sure, and I'm not talking anything post COVID or pre COVID. We did wonders. We did wonders last year. We did amazing numbers of revenue, sales, and of course, we all are proud what Devakan has achieved in last year, cracking into the 50 best. So that has given a lot of also opportunity that people started moving around. So if one restaurant makes it from this country or two restaurants makes it from this country, it is a big win for us. It's a big win for me. It's a big win for James, and a big win for Darren Chin and all these people who are trying every day hard and make it better and better and better. So, and I told this to Darren as well. I mean, we wanted to do an amazing festival down the line in September, and bring all the great chefs around the world and make it happen. And it was a great initiative driven through Darren, but unfortunately, he got to cancel all this thing because of COVID. And I received that email and I was like heartbroken because, of course, we can't execute the way we wanted to execute the whole idea. So there's no point of doing things. I think Darren can give you a lot of inside inputs what exactly he wanted to do it. But I was super impressed with the idea that someone is trying to take initiative and make things work. It's not for his restaurant, but it's for
the whole. Yeah. Okay. Oops.
not only a restaurant to survive like Darren DC and all the restaurants which is there. So when if a number one restaurant in Asia chef coming and cooking in Kuala Lumpur, that's going to create a lot of buzz. If a restaurant which is one to watch out in 50 best, he's coming and cooking, that's going to create a lot of buzz. So there were a lot of well-renowned chefs were there in the list, with a lot of great entrepreneur and restaurateurs also there in the list to make that thing happen. But unfortunately, it got cancelled. So super sad. But looking forward to next year. I'm sure Darren can work back again on the same concept and the same content, and we can execute that back in 2021. But coming back to fine dining, yes, it is evolving. When we opened the restaurant back in the month of May, it was very depressing. Seeing the restaurant with zero covers, that's the last thing you want to see it in this place. And then slowly things I see started moving things around. Like example, the celebrations like Father's Day, people are coming out. The numbers are going.
Okay. Oh, Kartik's out again. Right.
But
Kartik back. Okay.
Yes.
Are you back, Kartik? We can't see you. I think there's a bit of a blackout on your side. Okay, I'm going to then move on to James. And then we come back to you, Kartik. Are you still there? Okay.
Yeah.
So, James, now can you just walk us through, James? How has COVID-19 impacted your restaurant, and what were the immediate steps you took? Did you do deliveries? Did you do takeaways? What did Enfin do during the lockdown and then of course throughout the CMCO period? And how has it really impacted your restaurant?
I think the first thing that we did that was, in hindsight, was the best thing that we ever did, because like what the others have shared, the most important thing during this period was to keep our kitchen intact, to keep all our team together. So my partners and I decided that we will opened up the kitchen, and we cook for charity. We cook for charity for right through the period. We weren't serving anyone else other than just 4 or 5 different homes, orphanages, and old folks home, and also the homeless camp that the BKL set up. So, and that gave us an opportunity to figure out supplies, ingredients, who was still in operation, where we can get things and stuff like that. Once the team was a bit more back in motion, because people were living all over the place, so logistically, transportation was a bit of a nightmare.
Right.
So until we could get our rhythm together, then we started putting together a delivery format, because I felt at that point in time that the normal market that I cater for probably have a different kind of expectation, and I don't think I can fulfill it. So what I did then was target a different and a bigger market, which is more mass. So we offered delivery service for more comfort, luxury kind of menu, more accessible. I often get that very nasty sentence of, I love to come and try Enfin, but I need to save up first. So that's what I get. So I said, okay, maybe now this time I give you a menu that you can bring home and you can call me every day. So and that's what we did. We created a sub brand, because brand integrity was important. We didn't want any confusion. We weren't afraid of how people were gonna regard the brand, but it was more important that we don't get a confusion in our services that we want to continue after MCO. So we created Enfin X for delivery. And the platform was very much developed to basically do collaboration work. So next week, you'll be seeing another collaboration that I will be launching. So the first collaboration was Enfin X with Bad Boy Cooks. Bad Boy Cooks is one of my previous brand in a mass market where it's American diner kind of style. So we collaborated the menu and give you a better burger, a better pasta, better rice bowl at a more affordable price, and comfort. Some things that you just want to eat on a day-to-day basis. So we were looking at a different market segment in terms of what we were doing. So we will keep Enfin X, and we will hope to develop it a bit more. We're in the process of actually looking into our central kitchen, because the business really surprised us. It warranted us to look into it further. So we did quite well throughout the delivery period. We're still doing delivery right now. So the big change for Enfin by James Wan is in the dine-in restaurant. Our dine-in, we don't do lunches right now. So we kept the delivery service going until evening, and then we turn over the kitchen to become our normal dining service again. So all in all, we're trying to be more nimble, more flexible. No headcounts were cut, salary all intact, everything's intact. And the most important thing for me during that period was to make sure the team's morale and psyche was healthy. So doing something good, giving back, is something that I am always very passionate about. We support many soup kitchens from day one till now, and we will continue doing it. So it's in our DNA. It's in what we do, and that's why we work with many social enterprises. You know, so we never really go on the bad. We never beat the drums about doing this kind of work, because I just felt that it's just something that we should do anyway. So it's not something for marketing or campaigning. So that's why it's you don't hear much about it.
Yeah, that's right.
That's where we're at now.
Right. So the crisis, basically made you create Enfin X, right? And that's going to be purely for delivery only.
Correct.
Right? And now you're keeping the brand, you're keeping it going, because it's been pretty successful during the MCO period.
Yeah, we foresee that this creation would be a good spin-off, and it's a business that it can run on its own. It's very sustainable, and it's quite incredible today that technology is readily available, so integration was very accessible. So that kind of gave me the opportunity to test out this venture, and it's worked out pretty well because we were actually in the middle of renovation. We were about to start renovation for our casual dining restaurant coming. We were supposed to be open in May, but that was being held back out because of the MCO. So
Right.
that would also come back into play once we are more settled with the SOP for renovation and stuff like that in the next location. So yeah, all in all, it's like what Darren and Kartik's been saying. You know, it's how you want to play the game.
Yeah.
It's not how many, you know, you can have as many barriers and many obstacles in front of you. It's just up to you. If you think you can do something new, try it out, you know. But we're still okay so far. We're still okay. Dining in is still picking up. The first week when we open up, because we have only been open back for dine-in service for less than 2 weeks. This is coming into our second week. So during the Father's Day weekend, like Kartik said, it was incredible. I was shocked. Honestly, I throughout my period that weekend, we had to open for lunch because we are closed on Sunday, so we open up on a Saturday lunch. And that again, because of the format that we were doing, our customers keep calling us to say, hey, why don't you do this Saturday lunch every week? Because we really like this family bros kind of format that you're doing. So that again gave us another new idea of saying, hey, all right, let's try this out because people are really enjoying it. So there are many new things that is emerging out of the circumstance. And it's really up to you whether you want to do it or you don't want to do it, because I'm not fixed on the label of saying that I am a fine dine, therefore I can't do this, I can't do that, I shouldn't do this, or I shouldn't do that. It's up to you. It's up to you, really. It's what you want to communicate. So, yeah, that's where we are at right now.
So wow, this is really great story there, you know. And what about you, Darren? How can you walk us through, you know, what happened during the MCO, and you know what did Dewakan do? You did deliveries, and what is it that you had? Did you pivot? Did you pivot at all in terms of your concept or in any way?
Okay, so the first month, the building that we are housed in was closed. So we could do very little except for we had a couple of online meetings just to see where we could go in terms of direction. But to tell you the truth, I slept a lot, caught up on sleep, played with my kid, caught up with like friends, through Zoom calls, and just chilled out at home. Did a lot of reading, did a lot of home cooking. As far as the MCO goes, I think that's about as much as I can remember. Then when the building was reopened, we got back and we got together as a team, and we were like trying to figure out what we would do. I had no idea. What we decided to do was to do a couple of deliveries, but we didn't want to do deliveries because that would just be too blasé. So we decided to do food kits, and we found that worked out quite well for us. Well, no, it didn't work out very well, but it was fun enough because we could do things that were not uniquely Dewakan, but still kind of with a bit of DNA. And so we would cook up to about 80% of the way, and then we pack them, and then we send them out to people and get to finish the cooking themselves. And we did like a little bit of like a plate challenge online. That didn't pan out too well as well. As you can tell, my social media presence and all that is like quite horrible, so we're really bad at doing it. Okay. What we did realize was that our business model was not. We were not prepared, like completely not prepared. Like we had no clue what we were doing. We had to learn how to do online forums. We had to learn things like batch cooking. We had to learn how deliveries work. We learned how companies like Grab or Lala Move operate. And yeah, so I think that 1 month or so after when we got back, it was just us running around in the dark and figuring out stuff. You know, I was constantly speaking with other chefs from other restaurants and like people like Kartik and say, okay, what you gonna do? Oh, what you gonna do? You know, and oh, I don't know what we're gonna do. We're gonna try this. We're gonna try that. And I think what happened was that forced us to relook our business. And I was having a chat with a friend of mine, Jeremy, who owns Blackbird and Dragonfly 2 floors above us. And, you know, it was just test and go, test and go. That's all he said. Like, you know, test it, you see if it works out, and then you go. Either you go on with it or you say, okay, we abandon it, we try something else. Right. Yeah, so I think a lot of it has been, you know, vaguely surrounding that sort of ethos. Right now, we are exploring a couple of other options that might give us some sort of supplementary income, and anything short of selling my interns as slaves, we will try and do.
Right. So do you think you guys are going to continue your delivery, whichever model of delivery?
It's currently still you can still get onto the website and still order it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's not as busy as it was before. I think the demand's really dropped quite low. I mean, there wasn't much demand anyway for the ones that we were doing. Erratic. So some weeks you get good business, and then some weeks you get lesser business. I know some businesses that did really well on it. Like I think like Grub by Ah Hong in Section 17, constant flow, and that's really good to hear. Ours did not respond in that same way.
Right. Do you know why? Is that a particular reason?
I mean, do you want to buy from a face that looks like this? I mean, you know, it's not exactly.
Darren, give yourself more credit.
Bro, really, you hardly go online to sell yourself. Come on.
Yeah, so I mean, like, you know, I mean, it's not the most friendly face in the world. So I mean, besides that,
Are you taking a dig on me?
Sorry.
Are you digging on me because I'm online all the time?
No. I only refer to myself. But I think mostly because I think we decided to stick with our guns and provide something that was a little bit not so conventional. So because of that, most people, I mean, I think that most people would have gone with like conventional items, and maybe we should have done that as well. You know, maybe we should have done the more conventional thing instead of like trying to be Dewakan. So I think we made a mistake there. And then also I think the competition was very fierce. We have a certain, I mean, like we have certain pricing strategy. I mean, we went for the wrong pricing strategy as well. We priced higher than we should have, and then we realized that the feedback for that was also not so good. So yeah, I think these two things particularly, one was the choice of offerings. Probably didn't find the right kind of fit within the market. It would have been harder for us to do something that fit the market as well, because you know it was not our market and we don't exist in that market as well. So I mean, like if you're talking about people who regularly go to like hallmarks like Jake's Charbroil and things like that, you know, maybe they don't sit in the same market segment as what we are doing. So not all of them might know what we provide anyway. So that was a catch-22, and maybe we made the wrong decision on that one. Because we made that decision, we thought also because of what we do and who we are, we thought maybe that we should sit around the same pricing strategy, and then we made a mistake with that as well. Right. So we priced a little bit too high, maybe, and I think people felt that was not the kind of risk that they want to take.
Right. Okay. Wow, great. Thank you so much for your.
I like to share a little bit on what just Darren said based on my experience. We actually did a bit of a test because we launched the Onfa's Ramadan package, which was a higher price point
Okay.
compared to Onfa X about a week before we launched Onfa X, just to test the market to see the price tolerance, right? And Darren hit it on the point. It was the same experience with myself. The higher bracket, they are looking at something different, and they didn't actually necessarily wanted that kind of offering. So that kind of allowed us to look into our menu and quickly amend and understood exactly what could fit, because delivery is also quite expensive when you look at it, because the charges can make your product even more expensive and less competitive to what's being offered. Especially when you compare pasta with another guy selling pasta for 8 ringgit and yours is 20 plus or 30 plus, then people are going to ask, well, it's going to be delivered to me, it's going to be the same thing, it's going to be a mush. So until they've tried, then they can see the difference, then only slowly they will come. But the biggest challenge was communication. And I realized that if you don't communicate enough online and socially reach out to these demographics, it's very tough. Because my customer pool never need to ever think about ordering food. That was a very big challenge for me, because they don't need to.
Right.
And if they even want to order, they'll pass the phone to their children. Just order what you want. Here's the credit card. So it's a different segment of market, and it was quite challenging. And we were speaking to a different group, so we were very fortunate. We had a very good brand team and social media team behind us that basically helped us to understand this very quickly. So that kind of helped a lot. So if there's anything to share, that formula of looking at the social media side is very important for delivery.
So Onfa X was targeting a totally different group of customers.
Correct. Totally different demographics. It was very conscious that we did not want to target the same customer, because our customer will require and have different expectation. So I didn't want to go there, because I just felt that I couldn't meet that expectation. So and that's the reason why I just thought.
Right. So your existing customers of Onfa wasn't served by Onfa at all, in that sense that there was nothing available from Onfa, right? There was only available from
No,
Onfa.
there wasn't.
Right.
Yes, correct.
And
so we
sorry, go ahead.
We shared with our current existing customer that we're offering this new delivery service. Then the first thing they asked, are you selling steak? Is there any nice Wagyu that you're sending to my house? I said, no, because if I send Wagyu, what was medium rare, by the time it gets to you, may be boiled. So we're not going to risk it. So they want the same offering that you have in the restaurant, but I personally don't think I can meet the expectation when the food is delivered to them. So I rather say, I'm sorry, I can't do it. But this is something I know I can do, and I can do relatively well. So that's what I did.
I see.
So the team, like I said, we were fortunate because we opened the kitchen to serve the charity homes. So when we serve the homes, we learned a lot about packaging and food packing and logistics, because we were serving 5-6 different homes every day. And every day we were cooking close to 1,000 meals. So we already learned very quickly on things that we can do and can't do. So that gave us an advantage to see the whole process a bit better. So that also gave us a lot of leg room in understanding what will deliver better, what doesn't, and etc. Things like that. So that helped out a lot. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks, James. So just back to you, Darren, before we go to Kartik. So Darren, you were targeting your existing customers then. Were you targeting any new sets of customers, or it was the same? It was your Dewakan customers for your food delivery?
No, we tried different segments as well. We took breaking up to demographics as well as psychographics. So we had two two sort of approaches with like different subsets.
But you didn't see much of a positive response or much of a success in that area.
It was too short. It was too short. It was too short a period to say yes or to say no. I mean, it was. I think the responses were not the kind of responses that we were expecting, and yeah, it was. I mean, it was just too short a period to collect enough data on whether it worked or it didn't work.
Okay, great. Kartik, what about you, Nadodi? What about Nadodi? How has the COVID-19 impacted Nadodi, and what did you guys do? Did you do food delivery as well?
I mean, what James was mentioning also, we did something very similar to it.
Right.
So, I mean, we started quite a late, I mean, of course, we didn't do much in the March or April. When we started, the whole idea was not to replicate what we do it in Nadodi. Of course, because the expectations of people goes completely different. And then when the accessibility of doing a takeaway is also a biggest concern. So when we were trying to do something in Nadodi when it comes to takeaway and delivery menu, we created certain comfort dishes, keeping in our brand also in our mind, because we don't wanted to create anything and everything and just send it off back to the takeaway delivery or home. So what we did, we have used our two signature. Of course, our biryanis are the popular signature dish. What we have it in Nadodi, everybody keep craving for biryani. So and during it was a Ramadan time, so it's a great time to break it through. So what we did, we anchored our biryani as a kind of complete combo set, where we included a couple of desserts and sweets and a couple of a starter as a kind of bites into it. So we anchored our biryani, so at least we don't deviate with the standard what we are doing it in Nadodi. And then we add on certain comfort dishes which can be accessible to travel and reach out to the home, and they can just microwave it and eat it fast.
Right.
That was the whole idea of doing the takeaway menu. We
Right.
started a cocktail delivery also. We have an amazing cocktail program what we are running it right now through our
Right.
beverage and drinks. So we started a takeaway of cocktails as well. So that is also, we had a response. We received a great response from the audience, and it's going to continue till down the line for another 5 months or 6 months. So we are not pushing it back to take it off the delivery menu. Perhaps what we have done it right now, we have revamped the delivery menu. We relaunched it back again. So what we started by anchoring our signature biryanis with a little comfort dishes, little comfort dishes, which has accessibility of traveling from Nadodi to whatever zone. And we are keeping those lines in mind. We have revamped the menu, and we still have that menu on the. Of course, I mean it's not that. I mean, it's not that convenient right now when it comes to a lot of takeaways. But of course, in the month of April, we had a good takeaways. Even May, we had a very decent takeaways. But June is, of course, a lot of people are open up right now. People are coming for dining in. So takeaways a bit slow, but we are going to continue this and see how we can add on another revenue center to this. But the whole idea, I agree with James. What James said, that we were targeting a different demographic altogether, but we kept our anchoring signature dishes into the mind, and we wanted to reach out to the footfalls who wanted to dine in Nadodi, but to the price factor or it is expensive, they could not able to reach out to us. This is what we have it coming straight away from the kitchen of Nadodi, but in a very comfort and accessible way coming it to you. So that is what we have done during the MCO period, and the takeaways.
So, but you're keeping the delivery as one of your supplementary business for Nadodi.
That's right. We added another revenue center to ensure we generate something from the takeaways as well. As I said, that we have changed the menu. We relaunched the menu just a week back itself. It's a brand new menu of takeaway.
Okay. And what about your existing menu for dining? Is there going to be any change? Is there going to be any change in terms of also concept of Nadodi moving forward into the new norm?
Well, I mean, we were thinking, we had a lot of discussion when it comes to, we had a core team discussion also, but within the response, what we had in the month of June and slowly in the May, I think things are going to get back to normal, and things will be aligned. So we don't have to change much. But what we have done, we introduced shorter courses in the month of June. So ensure people doesn't want to spend a lot of time right now, because registration is all about 2.5 hours or 3 hours maximum. But a lot of people who just want to have 1 hour meal or 1.5 hour meal. So we introduced for the first time, we have introduced a 7-course menu, a 7-mile journey as well into our restaurant. So that's also has a lot of a great response from all the audience. Even though I was surprised when we launched this shorter menu, 7-course, and we have experience menu, which is your 11-course. A lot of people up 10-70% with the experience menu. So probability is there that the market is still there. People audience are still there to come and try out a fine dining restaurant, especially with the experience menu. But on the same time, we are giving and introducing an option by keeping COVID crisis into mind, introducing a shorter menu like 7-course. So people who just want to spend 1 hour and just go back, they can come and experience that too.
Right. So now you have a new 7-course menu.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And is that is something that, is it going to be the next couple of months? Is it every quarter, or is it just as what Darren was saying? You just continue to do what works, and what doesn't work, you just put them aside and you introduce new things.
We as a strategy of Nadodi, and what we have been doing it since some time. We keep launching our menu. We keep revamping of menu in 3.5 months to 4 months of time. Of course, we don't change the entire dynamic of the of the menu. We keep certain signature. We just keep revamping new dishes. So the new menu which we are launching from 6th of July. So it's going to have the same content of 7-mile journey, which is a 7-course, and of course the experience menu, which has 11-course. So we're going to work on the same content. Yes.
I see. Okay, great. Thanks.
And it's going to go for some time. At the moment.
Go for some time. Okay, good. Thanks. Now, James, just want to ask you as well. So moving forward for the next 6 months, can you just share with us a little bit about what Enfin will be looking at in terms of dining? What about your menu? Are you going to change? Any concept change, menu change?
We haven't really changed in terms of our focus of what we want to deliver. But just like what Kartik said, that we streamline the dining experience in terms of making it a bit more accessible. So it's the first time ever that since we've opened to now, we have launched a 3-course menu, making it basically speaking to a different demographics again, where people are wanting to try but haven't had an opportunity to try. Now we're making it more accessible. In terms of the big ritual change in terms of how the dining experience has changed at Enfin is we do not serve bread on the side anymore. So you come to a French dining, bread is very essential, and we're known for our bread. But we don't do it on the side as you enter anymore. So it becomes part of your amuse-bouche. So we take one of the amuse-bouche away and replace it with a bread platter with a series of different house churned butter and so forth. So, and we also deliberately look into the menu on putting in some comforts. Comforts in the sense of like, for some reason, we Malaysians living in a hot country love hot soup. and it's always been a faux pas of mine serving soup for a dining experience. So I took the challenge on and I created something a bit different, and I put it into the menu as well. So, and because we are very driven by our farming partners and so forth, we had big problems with logistics. As you know, we used to have our own little farming Cameron and people that we work with, and during this period, most vegetables are just all gone because they need to replant, so they need a bit of gestation period to grow everything back again. So we end up buying organic vegetables from other people, and that's very limited. So our choices of garnish and vegetables are also very limited now. So when you talk about change, that has been the biggest change. So not all suppliers are back online. Some have totally gone offline because they are very small producers, so they can't survive. So we're trying to assist and get them back onto their feet, saying that, hey, look, we really need you. Can you help us out? Just give us whatever you can, and we will build a menu around it. So that's what we have done. We are still serving some very gourmet products, but that is sparingly, because we are having great issues with imported producers as well right now. So that's kind of like limited the gourmet section outside of our normal dining menu.
Right. Okay, that's great. What about you, Darren? The next 6 months to the end of the year, what's any change in Dewakan in terms of dining, your menu as well?
Jen, I mean, an experience at our place is already changed from the beginning, from the time we started. So I mean, if we change any more, I think we're gonna probably get a revolt from our customers at any rate. So, well, we just swapped out our current menu. We were running that one from December, from opening till we closed for MCO, and then when we reopened with the new menu. So we're running that. Yeah, that's really it. Really, I mean, with all of these, the new SOPs in place, that's probably as limited as what we do. So we're just trying to like feel our way through it. Our current operations already has a different twang to it. So we're just keeping with what we've got. We're too new to go and make any radical changes.
Is that right? I mean, with the COVID-19 thing, it's already too many changes already happening anyway, right? So,
well, I mean, our space is distant enough. It's enough space. We're generally quite clean people. We shower at least once a day. Shampoo our hair maybe twice a week. So I mean, in that sense, it's just being a little bit more attuned to the needs that other people kind of require. So sanitizers in place, and it's not very difficult stuff. And I mean, our kitchen is exceptionally open, so guests can walk through at any one time. So we have to maintain anyway a certain decorum.
Right. Okay. Now, one question here is, what do you have to say to the F&B guys out there? Regardless of whichever category of F&B business they're in, what are your piece of advice, or rather your thoughts about being in the F&B business, staying in the business, and moving forward with getting themselves fitted into the new norm and whatnot, or even a mindset of an F&B entrepreneur, chef owner. What do you think you could share with them?
Did you mean me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, there's not a lot that's not already been said, and I think that the last thing people really need is to hear someone say something else. So I guess that I hate questions like that because they're very generic, and I think if I'm talking to Kartik and I know Kartik and we have a relationship, there are some things that I know I've privy to that he finds difficult, and he is, the same with me. The same thing with James, or if I talk to Christian or something like this. So I mean, it's very difficult to. I think that yeah. So maybe the best thing I would say is probably to find a partner, or to find people whom you can do this life with. I think it helps when you're consolidated with people. You don't have to like everyone, but you can be kind to everyone, and you can just and I think that when you find the clique or gaggle of people that you identify with, be support to each other. You know, the last thing anybody needs is to go to a restaurant and belittle the restaurant because of whatever. Really, you want to be a critic, write for the New York Times. When you write for the New York Times, okay, then I'll listen to you. But if you don't write for the New York Times and you got a small little blog or some small little Instagram, it's hard. It's hard for me to take you as a credible source of information, because I've been doing this for 20 plus years. How long have you been eating? So I think that it's a lot harder, especially coming from people who are already in the industry. Why would I need to go to Nadodi and complain that all they give me is Indian food? Why would I do that? I should go and I should experience it. Why would I need to go to James' place and say like, hey, this was not what you were serving before MCO? Why would I need to do that? It's no one. And if you've got no credibility, get credibility. That's fine. Write for something that has or form a critique that is objective-minded, that comes from a little bit of experience, that comes from knowledge, that comes from not the fact that you know how to type words on a computer.
Right. Wow, fantastic! Thanks for sharing. That's an eye opener for a lot of people. I agree. There's a lot of food bloggers and food reviews out there, and I agree with the part where you say, if you can come together, you might not like each other, but if you can get together and support each other, and go to people's restaurant because you want to try some food, you want to experience what it is like to for what other people say. But I guess comments and all should be more supportive and more positive in the light of our own F&B business, and support our industry here.
Jen, just interrupt. It's not that it has to be nice all the time, but it needs to at least be correct.
Yeah,
it has to be correct. Don't talk about things that you don't have an idea of. Develop that knowledge, and when you come with a wealth of knowledge, then people like myself would be like, oh yeah, you know what, you do know more than me, and I'm willing to listen to you.
Right.
So it doesn't have to be nice. You can tell me that my food's not as good or not good. You can tell me that, but come from a point of knowledge. If you can tell me why it was not good. What did I undercook it? Did I overcook it? Did I, is it too salty? It's not salty. Blah blah blah. Come from a point of knowledge.
Absolutely. Great, Darren. What about James? What do you have? I know Darren hates this kind of questions, but I would like to hear, like, okay, if they were like, all these F&B owners out there, F&B entrepreneurs out there who probably just invested into this business, say, 5 years ago, less than 5 years ago, and they're struggling, they're lost, like what Darren was saying earlier, that you don't know whether you should be doing this way or that way, and you just keep trying and exploring. So what do you think? Someone like in your experience, what would you tell them?
I understand where Darren's coming from, and I agree with him 100%. There are too many keyboard warriors out there who thinks they know about food because they've watched a bit of YouTube or they've gone to Netflix, and they look at some photographs that has been in some food cookbooks that has been styled to the nth degree to get that perfect picture. I would love to be able to give that same kind of quality, which we try our very best, but a picture and in reality is very different because we're dealing with organic matter. So, and the dining culture is still young. So when people dine more, experience more, they will understand that all of us have a different format of expression. I don't like I just said from the very start, I don't expect to go to Darren's to find the same food as mine. Then why would I go to Darren?
Yeah.
because I want to taste something different. I don't want to Kartik and go to Kartik's place and say, "Oh, can you do me Japanese Indian instead?" It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And I'm not an Indian expert, but I would love to go and try, what is a great biryani? That's what I would like to learn, you know. I travel a lot with the brands that I work with. And one of the most humbling experience is when I traveled to Mexico in 2019 last year. And together with me were 18 other chefs from some of the most big names, right? But what was very humbling was when all of us went to this hilltop village in Oaxaca and watching the people there cooking on raw charcoal, meat just thrown on raw embers, and how tasty that food was. And all of us started staring at each other and say, like, how much is your oven and how much is your boiler? Why are we not doing this? This is so delicious. And point being is that we didn't invent cooking. All this is predate us, but we're just trying to express ourselves in a different manner. And if people can understand that that's what you come to us for, is try to hear what we're trying to say, it will make your dining experience a lot better. For people who are coming into this business, my one big advice is be very empathetic to your suppliers, be very empathetic to people that you work with, because if they don't supply to you, they don't give you the best ingredient, you can't do much. You don't want that. One relationship is what will help you to weather through this big problem that we're facing right now. So that's something that I like to share. Otherwise, I think most of the things has been said. Great advice has been talked about, but relevant to Malaysia and our current circumstances, we need to help each other out. And I agree, we chefs don't band up together enough. We need to get together more often. We need to talk to each other more often because we are very busy, trapped in our own little world. And it's great. I finally get to meet Kartik online. I've not met Kartik. I met Darren, but I've never met Kartik. I've been wanting to go to Nadodi, but I just never had a chance. So, and I've been hearing so much about it.
We should catch up soon. Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely. It's just like Darren's new place. I've never been. I spoke to Darren last week. Was it last week, Darren, or a week before? I said to him, hey, I really need to go to your place. I want to try your new place out. And we just never get a chance to talk to each other. So, and there's a lot of people going out there telling you all sorts of stories about this restaurant, that chef, and it's just their story. But I think it's important that we go and experience it ourselves and then make a call. And I don't believe that every cuisine and every restaurant has to be liked by everyone. We all have our favorites. We all have our favorites, So, and that's why we all can live in the city together. The more of us, the better it is. It's not about just one restaurant, Dewakan, being 47. I wish there would be more. I wish DC would do it. I wish Nadodi would do it. I wish Jeff or everyone else will be on the list.
Yes.
So that we can be thriving, so that we have more choices.
Right.
And that's the only way that our diners can be educated to experience, to see more. So for new entrepreneurs, please don't despair. It's a hard road, but you either find a very, very loving partner or a partner that understands you really well at home, because life is not that simple, and I remember seeing Darren last year, Macau. I think you were expecting your baby back then, right, Darren? Yeah. I my hat's off. I just like, wow, expecting a child and moving and getting into all this is just a big ask. Right. But you really need somebody loving and understanding. Otherwise, life is not worth it, man. I tell you. So you should know, Jen. You know what I'm talking about.
I know. Thanks. Thank you, James. Okay, Kartik, your last, I mean, we've spoken a lot. We've spoken about many things in the last 1.5 hours. What is your one final bits of advice or tips to fellow entrepreneurs out there, or fellow F&B entrepreneurs out there?
I believe there's a very thin line between two different ideas. One is your revenue-driven center restaurant. One is your concept-driven restaurant. So the entrepreneurs and the investors and the owners and the shareholders, those who were ready to invest on talents and skills and things what we are trying to bring it, they will definitely understand, okay, this is a concept driven restaurant which brings fames and name, and this is a revenue driven restaurant. So if they understand this part, definitely there are people who are going to support, the entrepreneurs are going to support, the partners are going to support, the investors, the shareholders. So somewhat part of Cinnamon Group, I find they are trying to understand that aspect, saying that, okay, this is not a revenue driven restaurant, this is a concept driven restaurant and we need to give them the support to the strength what they needed at the moment. So whoever the owners right now to other hotels and other restaurants, if they understand this part, okay, this is going to be this and this is going to be this, that'll be great for every individual to run through this hard time. And I feel I have very good instinct that things are going to get better and things are going to get aligned for soon, very soon. I'm sure we're going to see a great sunrise, coming few days. Yesterday was a great day. We just had one case in Malaysia, so things are getting better. Things are getting aligned.
Absolutely.
Things will be fine.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Okay, so we've come to the end of our session. And we'd like to thank all the three guests for sharing so openly with us about what they went through, what they're going through, what the new fine dining or no fine dining, of how we want to classify it. I mean, I would classify that we have great restaurants in Malaysia. And I really agree with what James said about the more the better, the more the merrier, because then we are able to provide a great dining experience to anyone, whether it's domestic tourists or international tourists or our own fellow Malaysians, the best food ever. And I think if I can just sum up a little bit about what the two things that I've summed up about what these three amazing gentlemen here have given us is, one is flexibility, that whatever it is during crisis moment, flexibility is absolutely important to change and pivot and explore and trial and error on all the things that work or don't work, and that that you have to do whatever it takes if you want to pursue with your restaurant or your dream or your business. So head on, I suggest that we all head on to Nadodi to try their 7-course menu, and head on to Enfin by James Wan for the 3-course menu, and of course to Dewakan to try Darren's very cool new menu as well. And perhaps he might make a t-shirt by then as a fashion designer, as a chef fashion designer, Darren, and he could sign it up for you, right? But you promise me, if you ever go into fashion design, please make sure James, Kartik, and myself will get the number 1, 2, and 3 t-shirt from you, right? Okay, so Darren, James, and Kartik, if you want to unmute yourself and say, goodbye to our audience and thank them for joining us, please. Go ahead, James.
Right, thanks everyone. Hey, thanks guys. We really must catch up. It's been great listening to your stories and what you've been up to. Thanks, Jen, for inviting. I hope to see everyone real soon.
Yes. Okay. Fantastic. All right, Darren. Thank you so much for spending time, Darren. Any last things to say to our audience?
Thank you for everyone who's listening, and hope it was not too much rubbish.
Okay. All right, Daddy. So thank you so much. This is Jennifer. I am signing off from HAPA TV, and I look forward to seeing all of you again in the next couple of weeks with more inspiring stories. Have a good evening. Thank you. Bye.